got me like I remember a friend of mine who is a philosophy major and now an activist. He often accused philosophy teachers or philosophy professors as uh, being departed from reality. I do agree with him at some point. What does he mean by that? That philosophy teachers are departed from reality? It's that there are many realities or pressing issues that we often encounter and needs to bring that we need to bring to the streets. Another reason is that many of these philosophers would just simply try to rationalize on the pain and experiences and sufferings of other people, as sort of necessary or sort of, well, they're just part of the system. The system needs to be achieved. It's like what is more important is the ideas rather than what these people are really experiencing. In Christian morality, we cannot build a moral conclusion, a moral stand that ignores the reality of our times, that simply reject or simply is indifferent towards the pain and suffering of many people. Constructing abstract ideas without any relationships to the real world is useless. The problem with this is we could not ask people to rally or to stand for a moral belief. It's difficult for a person to stand on an abstract norm. It has to be a reflection of our reality. Experience is not simply my personal experience. This is my experience, and then you relate it to the other sectors. No, it is not simply my subjectivity or how I see and experience the world, but it also includes our shared experiences of different communities, both local and global. The experience of my community here in Davao and Mindanao, and my experience as a human person that knows the issues and realities that's going on in the US right now, or what's going on in Hong Kong or in other parts of the world. We need to focus on our relationship with ourselves, with others, and with the world. We need to listen carefully and pay attention to the many voices that could be involved in making a moral stand. The multiplicity of these voices will allow us to have a better standing of what the issue is. This includes the experience of the marginalized and neglected groups. For example, in issues about, like for example, marriage, it's always important to also include the experiences of our LGBTQ community. We need to be in discussion with them. When we talk about issues about pregnancy, sex education, we need to listen to the voices of women. When we talk about education, we need to listen to the voices of Lumad or the Lumad people. And we need to listen to the many groups. I remember our professor asked us before to, if you want to know what we mean by the kingdom of God, then it is also important to ask how the jeepney drivers, the tricycle drivers, the janitors, the voices that are often neglected, even by theologians, where every time they explain the kingdom of God, we need to know how they understand it. Even in the many issues that we tackle, we often leave it to the academicians, the professors, our teachers. No? In doing so, we leave so many voices unheard. And those voices could give insight to how we look in a certain issue. For example, we're talking about pregnancy, or we're talking about teenage pregnancy. Why not talk about the experiences of many women when it comes to their body, and how people often how they feel, on how people treat them with their body, know that it's actually their obligation and their. And when talking about moral issues, it's also important to listen to the achievements of human intelligence in the past years, both the natural sciences and the social sciences. Now, like for example, this pandemic, uh, the pandemic is a healthcare issue. So at times we often hear our politicians creating solutions, whether it's moral or not for them. But then have we ever listened to the sciences behind it, whether how they see and how we need to tackle this pandemic, especially when we're, for example, when we're talking about quarantine and then choosing between health and the livelihood of many. Who do we listen to? Often, those who speak the loudest are really heard of, but every time they shout and speak, many people are silenced by their talking, by their shouting. For example, a politician talks about this, but without listening to the many people who will really be affected. His solution is almost ridiculed by many because it is departed from their reality. There's no shortcut in arriving in a moral conclusion. We have to listen to these many voices. It always needs to be rendered by the sciences, by particular experiences of people. And if you try to remove one voice, like for example the science in issues like for example scientific issues like for example how to take care or a patient, remove the voice of science there, or a COVID patient, how to take care of a COVID patient, remove the voice of a scientist there, your moral conclusion will be really different. So in the past years, or well, many hundred years, in some centuries, actually what many people don't know is that the church has changed many of its moral stand. What's the reason for its change? It's actually the experiences of, or the experience of the church and how it communicates with other sectors of society. And I'll give one example, and it's called usury. And what do you mean by usury? It's actually lending money or property for an interest. So technically, that's how we do it today. Every time we, or it's for example, loaning money from someone, and that someone will actually sort of add interest to it. See, the church sees that as sort of an abuse back then. Or 5-6 is a form of an abuse, or lending money and for an interest is an abuse, or is not really very Christian for them. But then something happened in the past that allowed the church to change its stand and to see that it's at some point not really that evil. What is that? It's the idea of when the church started to communicate with banking officers. These are, when we say banking officers, these banking officers are also Christians. And they wanted to prove to the church that, well, Father, what we're doing here, or Bishop, or the Pope, what we're doing here is not really that bad. We need to explain it to you. So the church started to listen with these banking officers. And what did they show that allowed the church to change its stand? Well, see, money, the value of money doesn't stay the same over time. We know that it could inflate or probably deflate. So every year, the value of money might increase and likely to increase. And what happens is that if I lend you 100 pesos today, 5 years from now, the buying power of that 100 pesos is not the same. So I need to sort of add interest so that I could still get the value out of that 100 pesos. Another thing is that every time you lend a property, you don't have access to that property, and you lose the ability to actually earn from that property. So upon hearing that, upon realizing, hey, it's right, you don't get to use that property, or the value of money doesn't really stay the same over time, it is only right to actually add interest for the benefit of those who lend. I said one example, but then actually the church has changed its stand on issues like death penalty, slavery, and it's because of the experiences and the better understanding of people. Because of when events in the past allow the church to listen. So now there are so many issues that many people have different opinion. It is not really, I don't really buy the saying that you really have to alienate someone who is quite opposite in terms of your beliefs. Rather, it is always important to listen to the other group. Probably they have their particular experience of a certain moral issue that is quite different from us, to will allow us to actually sort of I'm not saying that we immediately give in, but rather it is important to listen. Important to listen because there are voices that are often unheard every time we talk. The church has actually changed many of its moral positions in the past. This is something that we could not take against the church. Actually, changes that occurred is considered as good as long as the principle of change is Jesus Christ. We have to understand that our experience of the people and our experience probably of pain or of happiness or any forms or human achievements, we have to take into consideration whether it moves us more closer to Jesus Christ. That's the end of our lesson for today, and I hope you learned something. Goodbye.